Google and OpenAI just declared war, and what's happening right now will determine who controls the future of humanity. This isn't about better chatbots or smarter algorithms anymore. This is about two titans fighting for something far bigger. Control over how we work, how we think, how we create, and ultimately, who gets to shape the intelligence that will run our entire civilization. One company has the distribution, the infrastructure, and billions of users already locked into their ecosystem. The other has the model that changed everything, the brand recognition, and a $157 billion valuation built on pure innovation. But here's what almost nobody is talking about. While the world watches these two giants battle it out, the real story is what they're building behind the scenes. AI systems that can think, reason, and act without human oversight. Models that learn continuously, adapt in real time, and execute tasks autonomously across every device you own. And the craziest part? One of them just pulled so far ahead that it triggered an internal code red at the other company. We're talking about leaked memos, emergency strategy shifts, and a complete restructuring of priorities. Because when you look at the actual data, the user numbers, the engagement metrics, and the technology breakthroughs happening right now, you realize something shocking. The company everyone thought was winning might actually be losing. And the underdog everyone dismissed, they just deployed the infrastructure to dominate the next decade. So buckle up, because what you're about to discover will change how you see the entire AI revolution. This is the story of Google versus OpenAI, the most important technological battle of our lifetime. And by the end of this, you'll understand exactly who's winning, why it matters, and what it means for every single person watching this right now. Let's start at the beginning. November 30th, 2022. OpenAI releases ChatGPT to the public. Within 5 days, it hits 1 million users. Within 2 months, 100 million. It becomes the fastest-growing consumer application in history. Nothing even comes close. Not Instagram, not TikTok, not anything. And suddenly, the entire world wakes up to AI. But here's what most people don't know. Google saw this coming years before it happened. They invented the transformer architecture in 2017, the very technology that powers ChatGPT, GPT-4, and basically every major AI model today. That famous paper, "Attention is all you need," that was Google. They literally created the foundation for the entire AI revolution. So when ChatGPT exploded, it wasn't that Google didn't have the technology. They had it first. The problem was something else entirely. Google was paralyzed by fear. Fear of disrupting their $200 billion search advertising empire. Fear of making mistakes in public. Fear of releasing something that could generate misinformation or offensive content. So while they sat on the most advanced AI research team in the world, OpenAI moved fast, broke things, and captured the entire market. And Google, they panicked. December 2022, just weeks after ChatGPT's launch, Sundar Pichai issued a code read across the entire company. Every team, every division, every product was told to integrate AI immediately. Google had to respond. They had to show the world they weren't getting left behind. So in February 2023, they rushed out Bard, their answer to ChatGPT. And it was a disaster. The demo failed spectacularly. Bard confidently stated that the James Webb Space Telescope took the first pictures of a planet outside our solar system. Completely wrong. Google's stock dropped $100 billion in a single day. $100 billion. Gone. Because their AI embarrassed them on the world stage. Meanwhile, ChatGPT kept growing. OpenAI announced GPT-4, the most powerful AI model ever created. Microsoft invested $10 billion and integrated ChatGPT into Bing, Office, Windows, everything. The narrative was set. OpenAI was the innovator. Google was the dinosaur getting disrupted. But that narrative was about to change. Because while everyone was laughing at Bard's mistakes, Google was doing something quietly, systematically, and absolutely ruthlessly. They were building the infrastructure to win the long game. And it started with one critical realization: models aren't the moat. Distribution is. See, here's what OpenAI got right and wrong at the same time. They proved that large language models could change everything. They built an incredible product that people loved. They created a brand so strong that ChatGPT became synonymous with AI itself. But they made one fatal mistake. They forgot that in tech, the best product doesn't always win. The product with the best distribution does. And Google, they have distribution like no one else on Earth. Think about it. Google Search processes over 8.5 billion searches every single day. YouTube has 2.7 billion monthly active users. Gmail serves 1.8 billion people. Android runs on 3 billion devices worldwide. Chrome is the browser for 65% of all internet users. And Google Cloud powers infrastructure for millions of businesses. That's not just market share. That's infrastructure control at a scale OpenAI can't even dream of matching. So Google started integrating AI everywhere. Not as a standalone product you have to download, but as intelligence baked into every tool you already use. And that's when everything changed. May 2023, Google I/O. They announced Gemini, their next-generation AI model, designed from the ground up to be multimodal. Not just text, images, video, audio, code, everything, all at once. And unlike ChatGPT, which started as a chatbot and then tried to add features, Gemini was built to be the intelligence layer across Google's entire ecosystem. Then, December 2023, Gemini officially launched in 3 sizes. Nano for on-device processing, Pro for general tasks, and Ultra for the most complex problems. And Google made a move that sent shockwaves through Silicon Valley. They rebranded Bard as Gemini and made it available for free to anyone with a Google account. No waiting list, no premium tier required for basic access. Just instant AI for billions of people already using Google products. But here's where it gets interesting. While OpenAI was focused on making ChatGPT smarter, Google was focused on making Gemini everywhere. They integrated it into search so you could ask complex questions and get AI-generated summaries. They built it into Gmail so it could write, summarize, and organize your emails automatically. They embedded it in Google Docs, Sheets, and Slides so you could generate content, analyze data, and create presentations with simple prompts. They put it inside Google Photos so it could search your images using natural language and even edit them intelligently. And most importantly, they deployed Gemini Nano directly onto Pixel phones. That meant AI running on your device, not in the cloud. Instant responses, complete privacy, no internet required. And because it runs locally, it's fast, efficient, and doesn't eat up your data plan. This wasn't just a chatbot. This was AI infrastructure becoming invisible, woven into every interaction, every app, every moment of your digital life. And then Google did something that changed everything. Imagen 3 and Nano Banana. Image generation built directly into Gemini. Not as a separate tool you had to pay for. Just type a prompt and get high-quality images instantly. And the results were stunning. Photorealistic portraits, artistic landscapes, creative designs, all generated in seconds. And unlike OpenAI's DALL-E, which required a separate subscription and interface, Google made it seamlessly part of the Gemini experience. The impact was immediate. Younger users especially started flooding into Gemini just to generate images. They'd spend 10, 15, 20 minutes creating art, experimenting with prompts, sharing results with friends. And every time they did, they weren't just using an image generator. They were using Gemini, getting comfortable with the interface, building habits, creating dependency. And here's the killer stat. According to Sensor Tower data, Gemini users now spend an average of 11 minutes per day in the app. That's up 120% since March 2024. Meanwhile, ChatGPT's daily usage time grew only 6% in the same period. Think about what that means. People aren't just trying Gemini once and leaving. They're coming back every single day, multiple times a day. That's not a product, that's a habit. That's addiction, that's market dominance in the making. But while Google was winning on distribution and engagement, OpenAI wasn't sitting still. They were making moves that showed they understood the stakes. January 2024, they launched the GPT Store, a marketplace for custom AI assistants. Suddenly, anyone could build specialized versions of ChatGPT for specific tasks. Fitness coaching, recipe creation, coding help, legal advice, everything. And it worked. Millions of custom GPTs were created. The ecosystem exploded. Then came ChatGPT 4.0 in May 2024. Omni-modal AI that could process text, audio, and images all at once. You could have a real conversation with it, show it pictures and ask questions. It could see, hear, and respond like a human. The demo went viral. People were genuinely shocked at how natural it felt. And OpenAI proved they still had the magic. They could still build products that made people say, "Holy shit, the future is here." But they faced a massive problem. Cost. Running these advanced models is incredibly expensive. Every query costs money. Every user interaction drains resources. And unlike Google, which makes $200 billion a year from advertising and can subsidize AI costs indefinitely, OpenAI had to figure out how to make money. So they doubled down on ChatGPT Plus, the $20 per month subscription that gave users access to GPT-4, faster responses, and priority access during peak times. And it worked. ChatGPT Plus brought in over $2 billion in annual recurring revenue by mid-2024. That's impressive for a company that didn't even have a product 3 years ago. But here's the brutal truth. $2 billion sounds huge until you realize Google makes that much in about 3.5 days from search ads alone. The scale is incomparable. Google can lose money on AI for years and not even notice. OpenAI doesn't have that luxury, so OpenAI made a bet. If they couldn't compete on distribution, they'd compete on quality. They'd build the smartest, most capable AI model on Earth. And in September 2024, they announced O1, their reasoning model. And this one was different. Unlike previous models that generated answers instantly, O1 actually thinks before responding. It breaks down problems, considers multiple approaches, checks its work, and revises its answers. And the results were staggering. On the International Mathematics Olympiad qualifying exam, GPT-4o scored 13%. O1 scored 83%. On PhD-level science questions, GPT-4o got 57% correct. O1 hit 78%. On competitive programming challenges, O1 ranked in the 89th percentile of human coders. This wasn't incremental improvement. This was a model that could actually reason, that could solve complex problems most humans couldn't handle. And suddenly, OpenAI was back in the lead on pure capability. But Google wasn't about to let that stand. December 2024, they dropped Gemini 2.0. And this time, they weren't playing catch-up, they were leapfrogging. Gemini 2.0 Flash launched with performance that rivaled or exceeded GPT-4o on most benchmarks. But the real shock came in how it was deployed. Google didn't just make it available through a chatbot. They made it the default intelligence across their entire ecosystem. Search results, Gmail suggestions, Docs assistance, photos organization, everything now ran on Gemini 2.0. And the speed was unreal. Responses generated in under a second. Multimodal processing that could analyze text, images, and video simultaneously. And it ran cheaper than any model OpenAI. offered. Cost per token was slashed by 75% compared to previous versions. That meant Google could offer more capabilities to more people at a lower cost. And they passed those savings directly to users. Free tier access to advanced AI features that OpenAI charged $20 a month for. Then Google made a move that absolutely shocked the industry. Project Astra, an AI agent that could see your screen, understand your environment, and take actions on your behalf. Not just answer questions, actually do things. Book appointments, send emails, fill out forms, make purchases, all autonomously. And unlike OpenAI's attempts at similar functionality, Astra was built directly into Android and Pixel devices. It worked natively. No third-party apps required, no complicated setup, just pure AI assistance embedded into your phone. The implications were staggering. Imagine asking your phone to handle something and it just does it. Not with Siri's clunky voice commands or Alexa's limited integrations, but with full AI reasoning that understands context, navigates interfaces, and completes multi-step tasks without supervision. That's not a better chatbot. That's a fundamental shift in how we interact with technology. And that's when Sam Altman sent the memo. According to the information, internal sources confirmed that Altman issued a code red alert across OpenAI in late 2024. The message was clear. Google's momentum was real. Gemini's growth was accelerating faster than anyone predicted. And if OpenAI didn't respond immediately, they'd lose their position as the AI leader. The memo specifically called for accelerated development across all product lines, faster updates, better reliability, enhanced image generation, improved personalization, and most critically, a new model codenamed Garlic that would outperform Gemini 2.0 on coding and reasoning tasks. But Code Red wasn't just about building a better model. It was about confronting a terrifying reality. The numbers didn't lie. And when you looked at the actual data, Google wasn't just catching up. In some metrics, they were already winning. Sensor Tower's analysis showed that from August to November 2024, ChatGPT's monthly active users grew only 6%. Gemini's grew 30%. Year over year, ChatGPT's global MAUs rose 180%. Impressive. But Gemini rose 170% from a much smaller base, meaning the momentum was accelerating, not slowing. And the distribution advantage was crushing. In the United States, twice as many Gemini users accessed it through Android devices as through the standalone app. In India, where Android dominates with over 95% market share, that advantage scaled exponentially. Gemini became the default AI for hundreds of millions of people before they ever thought to search for alternatives. And those users weren't just trying it once. They were using it daily. Building habits, creating dependency, downloads told the same story. Gemini was up 190% year over year. ChatGPT was up 85%. Still growing, but at less than half the rate. Perplexity, the AI search engine, was up 215%. Claude, Anthropic's model, was up 190%. The entire market was exploding, but Google was capturing share faster than anyone. And the engagement metrics were even more revealing. Gemini users spent an average of 11 minutes per day in-app, up 120% since March 2024. ChatGPT's in-app time grew only 6%. That's the difference between a product people try and a product people need. And the driver was obvious. Imagen 3 and Nano Banana. Image generation that worked seamlessly, looked incredible, and cost nothing extra. Younger users treated Gemini like a creativity engine. They generate dozens of images in a single session. Experiment with prompts. Share results on social media, and every time they did, they reinforced the habit. They built neural pathways that said, when I want AI, I open Gemini. But here's where things got even more interesting. While Google was winning on distribution and OpenAI was scrambling to respond, the entire landscape was shifting beneath both of them. Because the real story wasn't just Google versus OpenAI. It was the commoditization of AI models and the rise of specialized agents that could execute tasks autonomously, and that's where things got truly wild. Enter Lux. The OpenAI Foundation just released something that made every AI chatbot look obsolete. Lux doesn't talk about tasks, it executes them. It looks at your screen, understands the interface, and outputs actual actions. Clicks, scrolls, keystrokes, form fills, everything. It operates full desktops, web browsers, spreadsheets, email clients, and design tools. And the performance numbers were jaw-dropping. On the OS World Mind-to-Web benchmark, a brutal test involving over 300 real-world tasks pulled from actual websites, Lux scored 83.6%. Gemini's computer use capability hit 69%. OpenAI's operator scored 61.3%. Claude Sonnet 4 got 61%. The gap wasn't incremental, it was massive. And the reason was architecture. Lux was trained through agentic active pre-training, meaning it learned by doing, not by reading. It interacted with real interfaces, experienced failure, adapted to chaos, and built genuine intuition for how digital systems behave under pressure. And here's the real kicker. Lux runs about 10 times cheaper per token than OpenAI's operator. That completely changes the economics of automation. If Lux can execute tasks more accurately and more cheaply than anything OpenAI offers, why would anyone pay for operator? And that's the existential threat both Google and OpenAI now face. It's not just each other. It's the open source community building specialized tools that solve specific problems better than generalist models ever could. But the arms race didn't stop there. Google dropped another bomb: Titans and Miros. Two research breakthroughs that fundamentally changed how AI models remember and process information. See, every AI model until now has hit the same wall: context limits. Feed them too much information and they either forget critical details or become impossibly expensive to run. Transformers break down past a few 100,000 tokens. The compute costs explode. Recurrent neural networks stay efficient but forget everything important. Titans solved both problems at once. It combines short-term precision through window attention with a separate long-term memory module that actually updates while the model runs. Most models today don't learn during use. They're frozen, static. Titans learns continuously, storing information based on surprise. The more unexpected something is, the more likely it gets saved. And it forgets intelligently. Instead of wiping old information randomly, it makes strategic decisions about what matters. The results were staggering. Context windows over 2 million tokens. A 760 million parameter model outperforming systems 100 times its size on needle-in-a-haystack tests where models search for specific facts buried in massive documents. Titans hit 95% accuracy at 16,000 tokens. It beat GPT-4, Llama 3.1 70 billion, even Llama 3 paired with specialized retrieval tools. This wasn't incremental improvement. This was a fundamental leap in how AI processes information. And Miros took it even further. Miros is Google's unifying theory for sequence models. When you zoom out, transformers, Mamba, RetNet, RWKV, they're all variations of the same core idea, an internal memory system with different rules. Miros breaks this into 4 questions. What shape is the memory? How does the model decide what's worth storing? How quickly does new information replace old entries? And how does memory update over time? This framework led Google to create Monad, Jod, and Memora. Attention-free models that outperform Mamba 2 and classic transformers on ultra-long contexts. This isn't just an upgrade. It's the architecture that makes AGI possible. And you can feel the shift when people like Ilya Sutskever, OpenAI's former chief scientist who left to start his own AGI research lab, say they want models that learn like talented teenagers. Continuously, actively, not by processing mountains of static data. But while Google was making these technical breakthroughs, they also made a move that created massive controversy. Google Discover headline rewriting. Android users started noticing something strange. Headlines appearing in their news feeds that looked wrong, completely different from what the actual publishers wrote. And not small changes, meaning shifts that fundamentally altered the story. PC Gamer wrote about a glitch in Baldur's Gate 3 that lets players clone in-game child characters. Google Discover turned that into BG3 players exploit children. Ars Technica explained Valve hadn't announced Steam Machine pricing yet. Google rewrote it to Steam Machine price revealed. Other headlines became fragments. Microsoft developers using AI. Schedule 1 farming backup. AI tag debate heats. The AI label only appeared after you tapped into the interface. On the feed, it looked like the publisher wrote it. Google called it a small UI experiment for a limited set of Discover users, meant to make topics easier to scan, but they didn't address why so many rewritten titles diverged from actual article meaning. And between AI overviews summarizing content without sending traffic, image glitches generating offensive content, weird political results favoring certain viewpoints, and misaligned summaries that contradicted source material, newsrooms were already skeptical. Watching Google silently rewrite their headlines without permission only added fuel to the fire. And this is where the iArms race reveals its darker side. Because it's not just about who builds the smartest model or who has the best distribution. It's about who controls information itself. Google processes 8.5 billion searches every day. They decide what information surfaces first. They decide what gets summarized and what gets buried. They decide which headlines you see and how they're framed. And now they're using AI to rewrite reality on the fly, changing what publishers actually said to fit whatever algorithm determines is more engaging or easier to scan. OpenAI faces the same questions. ChatGPT doesn't just answer queries. It shapes how people understand the world. When you ask ChatGPT a question about history, politics, science, or culture, it provides an answer that feels authoritative, confident, definitive. But that answer is generated by an AI trained on data scraped from the internet. Data that includes bias, misinformation, propaganda, and error. And unlike a Google search where you can see multiple sources and judge for yourself, ChatGPT gives you one answer, presented as truth, with no way to verify where it came from or whether it's accurate. And both companies know this is a problem. That's why they're both racing to add citations, fact-checking, and source transparency. But here's the brutal reality. The better AI gets at sounding confident, the less users will question it. And the less users question it, the more power these companies have to shape consensus reality. That's not a tech problem, that's a civilization problem. But let's get back to the competition. Because while Google and OpenAI battled for dominance, they both faced a new threat, Anthropic and Claude. Founded by former OpenAI researchers who left over safety concerns, Anthropic built Claude with one core principle: alignment first, capability second. And the results were impressive. Claude 3 Opus launched in March 2024 and immediately became the preferred model for writers, researchers, and creative professionals who valued thoughtfulness over speed. And then they dropped Claude Sonnet 4. And suddenly, Anthropic wasn't just the safety-focused alternative. They were a legitimate competitor. Sonnet 4 matched or exceeded GPT-4o on most reasoning benchmarks while maintaining better instruction following and more nuanced responses on sensitive topics. And they had something neither Google nor OpenAI could match: trust. Because while Google faced criticism for rewriting headlines and OpenAI faced criticism for data scraping and copyright violations, Anthropic positioned themselves as the responsible AI company, the one that wouldn't sacrifice safety for speed. And it worked. Enterprise customers started switching to Claude. Major companies like Notion, Quora, and DuckDuckGo integrated Claude instead of GPT-4. And monthly active users surged 190% year-over-year, putting Anthropic in the same growth tier as Google. The market wasn't a duopoly anymore. It was a three-way race. And behind them, a dozen other challengers were gaining ground. Perplexity for search, Midjourney for images, Mistral for open-source models, Cohere for enterprise. The AI landscape was fragmenting, and that fragmentation terrified both Google and OpenAI. Because the real threat wasn't each other, it was irrelevance. If AI models became commoditized, if performance gaps closed, if specialized tools solved specific problems better than generalist models, then the moat disappeared. And whoever controlled distribution would win by default, which, spoiler alert, is Google. So OpenAI made a bold move. In September 2024, they restructured into a for-profit benefit corporation. The non-profit board that had controlled the company since its founding was sidelined. Sam Altman got more control, and the message was clear. OpenAI was no longer a research lab pursuing AGI for humanity's benefit. It was a business that needed to compete, grow, and eventually go public. And that shift changed everything. Because now OpenAI had to prioritize revenue over research. They had to monetize faster, ship products sooner, and make compromises they wouldn't have made before. And you could see it in their product decisions. ChatGPT search launched to compete with Google and Perplexity. But it was rushed. The accuracy wasn't there. The interface was clunky, and it didn't have the distribution to matter. OpenAI announced Sora, their video generation model, as the most advanced in the world. But they didn't release it, because they couldn't figure out how to make it safe, scalable, and profitable. Meanwhile, Google just kept shipping Veo 2 for video generation, better than Sora in most tests. Gemini 2.0 Flash for fast, cheap reasoning. Nano Banana 2 Flash for image generation at scale. Titans and Mirrors for long context understanding. Project Astra for autonomous agents. And all of it integrated seamlessly into products billions of people already use every single day, and that's when the reality became undeniable. OpenAI might have started the AI revolution, but Google was positioning to finish it, because the moat isn't the model. The moat is infrastructure, distribution, ecosystem lock-in. And Google has all three at a scale. OpenAI can't match. Android reaches 3 billion devices. Chrome dominates 65% of browsers. Search processes 8.5 billion queries daily. YouTube hosts 2.7 billion monthly users. Gmail serves 1.8 billion people. Google Cloud powers millions of businesses. Every single one of those touch points is now an entry point for Gemini. And because it's free, fast, and built in, users don't have to choose Google over OpenAI. They just use what's already there. And that's the game. Not building the best product, but making your product the default. And Google is the undisputed master of defaults. But here's where the story gets truly fascinating. Because while Google is winning on distribution and OpenAI is scrambling to keep up on capability, both companies are facing the same existential question. What happens when AI becomes infrastructure? When models are commoditized, when the cost to run them approaches zero, and when open-source alternatives can match proprietary models for most tasks. That future is closer than anyone thinks. Llama 4 from Meta is expected in early 2025, and rumors suggest it'll match GPT-4o on most benchmarks. Mistral, a French AI startup, just raised $640 million to build competitive open-source models available to anyone for free. Stability AI, despite financial struggles, continues releasing powerful models for image, video, and 3D generation. And Hugging Face hosts thousands of specialized models, fine-tuned for specific tasks that outperform general models in narrow domains. If this trend continues, and it will, The competitive advantage shifts entirely, not to whoever builds the smartest model, but to whoever can make AI disappear into the products people already use. And that's Google's superpower. They don't sell AI. They sell Search, Gmail, Docs, YouTube, Android, Chrome. AI just makes all of them better. Invisible, essential, taken for granted. And that's why Sam Altman called Code Red, because he understands what's coming. The window where OpenAI can win on model superiority alone is closing. Once Gemini, Claude, Llama, and others reach rough parity, it's over. The market fragments, prices collapse, and whoever controls distribution wins by default. That's Google. And unless OpenAI can build distribution at scale or maintain such a massive capability lead that users will go out of their way to choose ChatGPT, they're fighting a losing battle. So what's OpenAI's path forward? Garlic, their next-generation reasoning model, has to be so good that it redefines what AI can do. Not incrementally better, exponentially better. It has to solve problems GPT-4o and o1 can't touch. It has to deliver value that justifies the $20 per month subscription even when Gemini offers similar capability for free. And it has to do all that while Google continues integrating AI across their entire ecosystem, shipping updates faster and reaching billions more users. It's not impossible. But it's hard, really hard, and the clock is ticking. Because every month that passes, Gemini grows faster. Every update Google ships makes their ecosystem stickier. Every new user who tries Gemini and finds it good enough is a user OpenAI will never convert. And once habits form, once people build workflows around tools, switching costs become prohibitive. But OpenAI has one card left to play: AGI, Artificial General Intelligence. The moment when AI can do any intellectual task a human can do, and if OpenAI reaches AGI first, nothing else matters. Distribution, ecosystem, cost, none of it. Because whoever controls AGI controls everything. And that's what Sam Altman is betting on. Not winning the chatbot war, winning the AGI race. And here's the terrifying truth. We might be closer than anyone realizes. O1 showed that models can reason. They can think step by step, check their work, revise their answers. That's not narrow AI anymore. That's something approaching general intelligence. And if the next iteration, O2 or O3, can apply that reasoning across domains, across tasks, across modalities, we're looking at something unprecedented. Google knows this too. That's why they're not just building better chatbots. They're building AI agents that can act autonomously. Project Astra isn't just a voice assistant. It's the foundation for an AI that can navigate digital systems, make decisions, and complete objectives without human supervision. And when you combine that with Titans and mirrors, with long-term memory that learns continuously, you get something that starts to look like general intelligence. So the arms race isn't slowing down, it's accelerating. Both companies are dumping billions into research, hiring the best talent, and pushing the limits of what's possible. And the stakes couldn't be higher. Because whoever builds AGI first doesn't just win the AI market. They reshape civilization itself. But there's a darker question nobody wants to ask. What if neither company gets there first? What if AGI emerges from the open source community? From a research lab we've never heard of? From a nation-state program operating in secret? Because the tools to build powerful AI are increasingly accessible. The papers are public, the techniques are known, the compute is available. And the incentive to build the most powerful intelligence possible is universal. China is investing hundreds of billions into AI research. They've deployed AI across surveillance, military, and industrial applications at a scale that dwarfs anything in the West. DeepSeek, their leading AI lab, just released models that rival GPT-4o on specific benchmarks. And unlike OpenAI and Google, China doesn't have to worry about public backlash, safety concerns, or regulatory oversight. They can move fast, experiment freely, and deploy without restriction. Russia, Saudi Arabia, Israel, the European Union. Every major power is racing to build AI capability because they understand what's at stake. AI isn't just another technology. It's the technology. The one that determines economic dominance, military superiority, and geopolitical influence for the next century. And whoever leads in AI leads in everything. So when we talk about Google versus OpenAI, we're really talking about something much bigger, the future of intelligence itself. Who builds it, who controls it, and who benefits from it? Because AI isn't neutral. It reflects the values, biases, and priorities of whoever created it. And right now, that's a handful of companies and researchers in San Francisco and Mountain View. Brilliant people, no doubt, but a tiny, homogeneous group making decisions that will impact every human on Earth. And that should concern everyone. Not because AI is dangerous, though it certainly can be, but because concentration of power always leads to abuse. Always. History proves it over and over. And we're watching the most powerful technology ever created get controlled by two companies locked in a death match for market dominance, with shareholders demanding growth, with investors demanding returns, with CEOs incentivized to ship fast, scale quickly, and maximize profit. That's not a recipe for aligned AI. That's a recipe for disaster, and both Google and OpenAI know it. That's why they talk constantly about safety, about alignment, about responsible AI development. But talk is cheap. Actions matter. And the actions we're seeing are clear. Ship faster, deploy wider, capture more users, monetize harder. That's the arms race, and it's accelerating every single day. So where does this leave us? Google is winning on distribution, engagement, and infrastructure. OpenAI is fighting to maintain capability leadership and praying they reach AGI first. Anthropic is positioning as the safe, responsible alternative. And behind them, dozens of challengers are building specialized tools that might make general models irrelevant. The next 12 months will determine the outcome. If Google continues growing faster than OpenAI, the battle is over. If OpenAI ships something so transformative it forces users to switch, they have a chance. If Anthropic, Meta, or an open-source project leaps ahead, the landscape fractures completely, and if anyone, achieves AGI, none of the rest matters. But here's what we know for certain. The AI revolution is happening faster than anyone predicted. The capabilities are real, the impact is enormous, and the future will belong to whoever positions themselves correctly right now. Not 5 years from now. Right now, because AI isn't coming. It's already here. And it's rewriting everything: how we work, how we learn, how we create, how we think, and ultimately, what it means to be human in a world where machines can do almost anything we can do, but faster, cheaper, and without getting tired. This is Google versus OpenAI, the most important technological battle of our lifetime, and we're all living through it in real time. The future isn't written yet. Subscribe for more technology update news like this.